What's up, y'all? This your girl J Koie, and welcome back to the channel. I hope all is well. You already know what it is. You already know what it is. Okay, so we're about to get into it. Another movie review today. Now, of course, this is definitely an old film, as titled "The Truman Show," and mainly this came about just because I was scrolling through TikTok, and everyone was just saying that this was like mind blowing film. And I'm not even going to dissect it like the normal way. I'm just literally going to be broken into pieces because I'm just like, what they thought. Like, and it was a mind blowing film, But before I get into it, you already know, let's roll back the trailers. It is a 1998 film. So, of course, it's gonna look a little old, because it is old film. Jim Carrey, one of my favorite actors. I love his acting. Is in it. So yeah. So let's just get into it. You already know. Let's do it.
Comments are still headed.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's see what else is. Coming to you now from the largest studio ever constructed, it's The Truman Show!
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
What if?
No scripts, no cue cards.
Morning, Spencer. How's it going?
What if you were watched every moment of your life?
How many cameras you got there in that town?
5,000.
I believe Truman is the first child to have been legally adopted by a corporation.
That's correct.
Brilliant.
What if everyone you knew was pretending?
Hi, honey. Look what I got at the checkout. Dishwasher safe.
That's amazing.
What if your world was make-believe?
Cue the sun. While the world he inhabits is counterfeit,
I'm not allowed to talk to you.
that's how I look. Not your type. There's nothing fake about Truman himself.
What if you didn't know it? Until now.
A lot of strange things have been happening.
Stand by ring cam.
Is he looking at us?
Does he think he knows?
I think I'm mixed up in something. Something big.
We accept the reality with which we're presented.
Everybody's pretending, Truman. Get out of here. Come and find me. Truman?
Anything happen?
No.
You may find yourself in another part of the world.
It's like the whole world revolves around me. Everybody seems to be in on it.
I'm going away for a while.
You may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife. You may ask yourself, how did I get here?
I'm not in on it, Truman, because the last thing that I would ever do is lie to you.
Fade up music. That's our hero shot.
He's gone. Okay? Yes! Want to do it again? No!
Find him. Truman, where are you going?
You can do it.
How do we stop him?
Give me some light.
Is that the best you can do?
Cut transmission!
I like your pen. I was wondering that myself.
Jim Carrey. The Truman Show. Watch what happens.
All right. So the Truman Show. The writing. I can't even say this film, but the writing of it. It was definitely different, definitely unique, mind blowing. Um, just right off the bat with this film, I was confused. I ain't gonna lie. I was confused. I was trying to figure out what was going on. Um, I had to actually rewatch it like twice to really grasp. Like, I didn't finish it the first half. Like, I stopped in like in the middle section. It was like, okay, let me just start from the beginning because I'm like, what is this all tying to? Everybody's acting so commercial, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to live around people that's just so commercial all the time. So right off the bat, the movie is showcasing as if something is being watched as a television show, but the only person that isn't an actor in the situation is Truman. And but Truman doesn't know that. That's the mind thing about it, because I didn't realize it until further on. But um in the beginning you just see a young man, heading to work, excited, life is happy, all the neighbors are, in contact, everybody know what's what, but then you notice oddly behaviors. And same thing with the camera. The angles was insane. And I'm just like, why is the cameras set up like this, you know what? I'm like, maybe it could just be the movie, but the camera and the angles had a lot to do with the plot. And so you realize that with these angles, it's basically saying that he's being watched and monitored 24/7. Now, that's another thing that's mind blowing. 24/7? It's not even a break, a commercial break, like 24/7. That's just crazy to me. So, got a job as a I think he is like a traveling agent. He got a wife, she is definitely commercial. But it tends to like kind of like go back in time where, he takes it back when he's in high school and experience, and he goes on this date with this young woman, and this woman, takes from the beach, everything seems nice, but then she's just like, all this is a lie, she's like, you got to get out, and he's confused, like, what are you talking about, and people are just like, oh, she's crappy, whatever, and he just never sees her again, and she said that she's going off to somewhere, but just never think of much of it and things like that, but he starts to pick with certain things because in the beginning of the movie, when before he goes to work, there was this light that dropped, and it's just like that was the first telltale signs that something was up. But I feel like the first telltale signs should have been up when his neighbor was holding a trash can like that. Why are you holding a trash can like that? But anyway, I feel like the people that was around him started telling on themselves indirectly just because of certain things they was doing. But anyway, days keep going on, and he slowly starts to be like, okay, this is like a loop. The way the cars are moving, the way the people are moving, and then every time he talks or says certain things, there always seems to be like a blockage. And now, in some sense of the idea of reality, this is reality, you know? Um, gives you the same things like that. But let me just stay on track. Anyway, you know, eventually the wife starts snitching on herself. Eventually she's admitting that, someone needs to help her, and then somehow help is always on the way every time she needs stuff to pop off, and he's like, who is we? Who are you talking to? So eventually he's just like, am I losing my mind? So eventually he does lose his mind because it's like something is off, something is just really off. And so in the movie, you just find out that millions of people are watching Truman through a television. And he's surrounded by, you know, all these actors. Literally, the sky and the moon is all fake. And you'd be like, dang, that's crazy. Because it's like everything looks so real, but everything is so fake. And they fed off of certain fears and certain traumas that they placed onto his life, as if a normal person would go through. Like if they have a very traumatic experience, they would naturally want to not experience that again, and that's what happened with him. Supposedly, his father that he witnessed drowning in the ocean, because I guess I think they went somewhere. I feel like they just was trying to go somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, all that was just planted as well to bring fear into him, to prevent him from even exploring out further than he already has. And eventually he just really starts put two together with a lot of stuff that now he's trying to find ways of getting out. And so he had this big fear of water that he just could not do it, could not cross, things like that. So it never really allowed him to attempt to go further. But eventually he just like, enough is enough. We finna just try all kind of options. So, he's trying all kind of ways where he's, walk around, he's looking at the traffic. He actually slipped up one time and saw that the elevator had like a whole set crew, and he's just like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's construction. Like they pushing him out and things like that, trying to just cover up what it is. And it's just like something just ain't right, you know. But my biggest thing that was just even more mind blowing is the fact that the director, the one that was over the show, his perspective, and I'm just like, Mr. Director, what you thought that, I mean, he's almost like, what did you think that Truman would react towards the truth when he finally did tell him what it was. But this is awful though. So Truman basically is an adopted baby, and he believes that his father is his actual father, which it ain't. It's also an actor. But basically, Truman's life has been recorded from the days of times that he was in the womb. Okay, in the womb until now. I think he's about to be 30, or he is 30 in the film. But that's a long time being recorded 24/7. Everything fake. Your wife fake. Your friends are fake. Your neighbors are fake. The ocean sand is fake. I mean, everything's fake. The sun is fake. I mean, it's just mind blowing, really, because it's just like, wow, like that's so torturous. Like, I feel bad for Truman. I'm just like, this is not fair to him, even though the director felt like this is reality. He built a whole auditorium for Truman to live a life that's technically defined as life, because he goes through all the emotions, going to school, graduating, getting married, finding a career. He's literally living a true life inside this gigantic bubble. And although the director claimed that Truman could leave at any time that he wanted to, he couldn't at the same time, because every time he tried to make an attempt, everyone always found ways to prevent him. And I get it. Overall, you know, the director was trying to let him experience life, but more so a life that the director created. Okay. Did it have similarities of the real world? Definitely, um, when it comes down to that, because every emotion, every obstacle, you know, that's real life. Because when you're trying to do something, and every time you're trying to do something, something's always getting in the way. Every time you're thinking about doing something, this something, right? So that's what Truman kept experiencing. Every time he wanted to take a leap of faith or just go somewhere, even just a vacation, there was always something in his way that prevented him from doing so. So that's like, true life. But at the same time, it's like, but this isn't just coincidence. This is not God intervening. This is a whole man and a set of crew that's intervening and literally controlling if he lives or not. And it's almost like, how far are you willing to go to keep this show rolling? And it's like, he's the star of it all. But he don't even know he's the star. Like, that's definitely the mind-blowing situation. It's like, that's so messed up. And I'm like, director, what did you think? Like, taking an adopted child, or as they say, like, just pregnancies that wasn't wanted and all this other stuff. It's one thing where you're giving a person a good life, because which that's what I think he thought he gave him. He felt like he gave Truman a good life. He felt like Truman, well, he understood Truman. He treated Truman as his son in a sense, but through the screen. And it was just like, what you thought? So eventually, the director does tell Truman that this is all a show, after Truman kind of already putting two together, like, what is this? And he tells him that this is a show and you're the star, and the reasons why he can't leave, saying that, this is life. He's built a life for him to where he can experience whatever he does want to experience, but basically with limitations, you know, and so many people have been watching and all that. I mean, that's tough. I'm pretty sure a lot of the workers was there just because, they're getting a paycheck, but the fact that they couldn't tell the main star that none of this is real, none of the relationships are real, and made him look like he's crazy. Like, he's the crazy one. And in real life, life is like that. Life is like that. But it's just in a bubble and on TV. And I'm just like, this has been going, this like whole season or series has been happening for so long that it's just like, Wow. That I think that's what blows my mind more than anything. The fact that his life literally got recorded from being in the womb all the way until he's 30. Every decision he's made has been everyone like under everybody's eyes. Like what? So I mean the writing and everything, like all that was, definitely it was just written so well, so good. Okay. It was written so good that I was not expecting. I was not expecting. Sometimes you could predict certain things like, okay, this might happen, but you don't know if it's gonna happen. But this was like to a loop to where it was like a mind F. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm not even gonna say what it is, but it was just a mind F, really. It messes with your mind when it's just like when you think deeper than that. I'm like, I felt so sad for Truman. I really did. And I'm like, I was like everybody else, like, please get out, find a way. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but find a way. And he did it very cleverly. He started really realizing that every little thing had a camera in it, and he played it well. He was able to, find a way out and knew that it was like something is up, something is different. He knew that he wasn't crazy. It didn't matter how everybody kept telling him that he was losing his mind, having hallucinations, tripping. He knew that this wasn't tripping. It was not, it was just, it wasn't those moments where a coincidence will just keep happening the exact same way, where he starts predicting every little thing and like every single day it's happening. Yeah, that's that's just crazy. But in the ending, I was really hoping that Truman was able to get out and find his high school sweetheart, because she was watching the film too the whole entire time. But I was hoping that I was hoping that they would have showed that, but they didn't. They kind of just left it as is, to where it's like, okay, he got out and he didn't care about the show. When the director told him that he was pretty much the show and people loved him and all this other stuff, he's like, bump that. And he exited out beautiful. He gave a bow, if you don't see you, good morning, good night, type of scenario. And he exited like a G, like a G. Okay. And for some reason, the director was heartbroken about that decision. And I'm just like, I don't understand what you thought was going to happen. I don't know. I really don't know. But I was happy because I was like, yes, he's out of the loop. He realized that this ain't real. I was happy. I really was. But it definitely was a mind F movie for sure, because I just never expected it. I never expected it, honestly. But I enjoyed every minute of it. Um, you definitely have to pay attention to a lot of context clues or just certain like hidden objects, like things that just you just gotta be very, very aware of just what is. But what gave it away mainly to me from like the rep was definitely like the whole trash can concept, his wife especially. Just the how everybody just kept watching him. Like every little thing he did, everything just kept watching. And all the obstacles that just so happened to happen when he entered the room or he's getting on the bus. Like, what? Now give or take, of course, I do know that people lives can all experience those same things where it's just like shit is just unfortunate. But this was just too unfortunate. Okay, planned it out type of scenario. But we all know the devil can connive against us, times 10, all that. So I do get the realism of the whole building the world in this gigantic, you know, bubble. And he did. He gave Truman the real world, like how people can just be, how life can be. You always got to work hard to be successful, to have things, job, a social life. Like everything was given to Truman. True indeed. But that wasn't the way. That wasn't the way to go at all, just because he was the only innocent one out of this whole entire thing, literally thinking that this was real, and it wasn't real. Like, scenarios was real, but not your life. None of these people care about you. Not truly. The ones that care about your ass is the ones that watch TV. They're the ones that's like, he needs to get out this prison. He needs to get out this jail cell. He don't deserve to be here. He's too kind, too sweet, you know, and he deserves to experience life on his own terms and by the God's will and not by someone controlling it, you know. So, but I definitely enjoyed the movie. Um, and I know it's an old film, but I had to talk about it. I really did because I was just like, wow, this is my first time seeing it. And I normally watch a lot of Jim Carrey films, but for some reason I'd never seen that one. So I was like, wow, I missed out. But that's why they have it available, to just whenever you can get a chance to see it, see it. So I definitely enjoy those that mention it on TikTok, um and just led me to just be like, let me just check it out. What's wrong with checking it out? But I enjoyed it. 10 out of 10. The writing was definitely phenomenal. I can't even say beautiful, phenomenal, just because it messes up. It just challenged your mind for real. It took me places where I'm just like, wow, that's just so messed up. It was just so messed up. That's all I could really say. That whole scenario was just so messed up. Now it just makes you want to be like, dang, how many TV shows like that? Are they all actors? Do they know they actors? You know? But 10 out of 10, definitely good movie. So if you guys have seen it, let me know what y'all thoughts are. Let me know how y'all feel about the film, or just, you know, Truman's uh background itself. But it was definitely mind blowing. My mind blew really far, okay? And I know some people said that this film also traumatized them just a little bit, especially as a kid, because like what, but by me seeing it as an adult, I wouldn't personally say traumatizing, but the whole situation is messed up. Yes, indeed. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Feel free to let me know down in the comments below that what y'all think, blase blase, as always. But until next time, you guys, take care. Peace.